Hey guys, welcome back to CheatSheetPros.com. Today's Saturday, February 26th. We are going to take a look at some college basketball best bets showing up on our college hoops cheat sheet as these teams wrap up the regular season. As always, if you get the college hoops cheat sheet, it's free in our Facebook group on Thursdays. I post it there for everybody to play with. Just compare our consensus average of all the models to the Vegas line, and when you find a large difference, go ahead and take a look at that is a play. That's one that we recommend earmarking and investigating. And as always, we always use Pointwise sheets to kind of look back and see what they have for projections on each game. So we'll talk about that as we go through some of these plays. And I do want to point out, we've had these Trendy Picks in here, and I posted a screenshot on Twitter and in our Facebook group in the chat the other day. I noticed the ones over 10% were hitting quite a bit. Now, I didn't go through all 68 games that were on there, but the top six, all six of them hit. It was 4 overs and 2 unders, I think. And so I circled them and I posted a screenshot because we have a few guys in the chat who they follow different trends. And one guy found that if there's an edge over 10% for home teams, they went 8-0 one night. And so there's different things people in the chat follow and talk about and come up with plays. So something to keep an eye on. So these Trendy Picks here, I switched it over. If it's greater than 20%, it has a little easier to see, so you can see the background here pops a little bit more, so that's something to keep an eye on. One of the plays I do like if you want a chaser for the end of the night is this Gonzaga St. Mary's over. I figured it'd be 152, 153 is kind of what I pegged this line at, and it was only 145, so I went ahead and bet that this morning to go ahead and get a unit on it. And you can see it's got a trendy over pick here of 24%, so that's pretty interesting. But let's go ahead and get started. Actually, before we do, there is one thing I wanted to point out. So here in the chat this morning, when I woke up, I was drinking my coffee, and we were talking about these Trendy Picks. One of the guys had posted this screenshot and said, hey, I saw that screenshot yesterday, so I picked 4 of the Trendy Picks on totals, and I teased him, and he put $40 on it, and then it paid $190. So he bet this, he went to bed, he woke up, and hit $190 4-pick parlay for plus 375. So I thought that was pretty neat. I love seeing people find success on different ways to use the sheet. So that's pretty fantastic. Congratulations. So we have 146 games today. There are several I've noticed with differences in the model versus the spread, but unfortunately I don't have time to do a 5-hour video and go through every single game. The chat's already been popping this morning. I see a lot of people in there with plays they like, things they've noticed. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 6 of the plays that I like that have popped out that I've already bet. And then also I have a 7th play that is a lean that we're going to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to do this in order of start time so you get the earlier games up. So as always, the game number is over here. This is what we're going to reference it on the cheat sheet. So we're going to take this down to game number 44. Where are you at? All right, so game number 44 right here is Miami of Ohio at Toledo. So right here we have the 272nd versus the 86th power ranked team. What I like about this, Miami of Ohio is 4-8 on the road. Well, they're 12-16 on the year, but Toledo is really good and really good at home. They are 11-1 at home. They're a 19-8 against the spread record on the season. And still 7-4, 64% at home. And then Miami of Ohio, they've struggled on the road. They are only 2-10 against the spread, covering 17% of the time. You can see here that our consensus model has this at about Toledo minus 19 points. Toledo's also won 4 of the last 5. And then Miami of Ohio, they've lost 3 of the last 4. Now, I will give you a word of caution. These teams played back on January 11th at Miami of Ohio, and Toledo only won 75-72. It was a pretty close game. But what jumps out at me is Miami of Ohio barely beat Western Michigan. They beat them by 5 points, and they're not a good team. And then Toledo just beat that same team by 42, 92-50. So that really jumped out. So the line here is Toledo minus 11.5. We've got it, our model, about 19, so I like that as a play. What I did for my personal bet is I took first half minus 6.5. Typically, when I talk about these first half, second half strategies, if I get a spread that's between 9 and 13 usually, and the team's clearly better, I'll go after the smaller spread in the first half line and try to go ahead and get my win by halftime. And if I do, go ahead and move on. But if they have a bad first half, I come back with a second half hammer. an example was Iowa yesterday. That was the only top 25 game on the board. There wasn't a lot going on that I liked in the NBA, so I just posted a play on Iowa. Well, I bet Iowa first half. It was -6, -7. It didn't cover, but I went ahead and just put one more unit on the second half, which covered, which gave me a break even minus the VIG, so I was fine with that. But Toledo minus first half is my first play, -6.5. There is the caution game, but I think that's a good one. Toledo is red hot right now. Now, the second one is going to take us down to game number 32, and this is going to be Dayton at LaSalle. Kicks off at 2 p.m., and you can see here we got the 42nd versus 242nd team. Dayton is just clearly the better team. I mean, they're red hot right now. Our model, you can see over here, we've got it as Dayton minus 18.5, minus 19 points. We'll call it 18.5. So Vegas right now has this at Dayton minus 10, but it jumped to 11.5, and now it's down to -9. So I got it at -9, and I also got first half -5.5. So just make sure someone's not ruled out for Dayton. That's a pretty big line move to go one way and come back the other way. I just noticed it. I made my bets right before I started recording this video, so I'm riding with it either way, whether someone's in or out, but that would be a red flag of something that you should look at. And this is one where I want to show you the game logs of these two teams side by side to see if I can sell you on this pick or not. So with the spread at -9, -10, and then our model at -18.5, that's a significant difference. So that's a game that I want to go ahead and dig into and take a look at. And what I typically do is I pull up the schedule side by side on ESPN, and I want to see how these teams are recently doing. Let me lift this up a little bit for you. And so Davidson, they're 11-1 at home, and Fordham's only 3-7 on the road, so that's a plus for us. And Davidson, what I like about them is they just beat a really good, I'm looking at the wrong one, sorry. Dayton just beat UMass 82-61. They beat them by 19 points. UMass is a terrible team. And then UMass just beat LaSalle 80-74 by 6. So that's one that jumps out at me. You can see here that LaSalle, they've lost, 5 in a row to St. Louis, Richmond, St. Louis. St. Louis is a good team, so I'm fine with that. But they lost to UMass, Fordham, and Richmond. They got blown out by Richmond. And those are pretty rough wins. And then you can see over here, Dayton's won 5 straight. Now, they beat them. We're not even going to try to pronounce the name again, but that team's terrible. George Washington's not real good, but they blew both of those teams out, which is what I would expect. They beat a mediocre Rhode Island team that's struggling. Then they beat St. Joseph's by 12, and then they beat UMass, ran them off the floor by 19. So Dayton is a team that I really like to run over LaSalle today just to go ahead and continue their, let's say, what are they, second in the A10. Go ahead and continue their dominance. And I don't think these teams had played before. Let me look. Okay, yeah, so these teams haven't played, but I think -9, -10, any one of those is fair. If you want to go after the first half, second half, -5.5 in the first half, I think is a no-brainer too. So that is the second play that we like. Number 3 is going to take us down to game number 9. So we're going to look at a bigger school here, and we like Texas Tech over TCU. This game kicks off at 6 o'clock tonight. You can see both teams have been really good against the spread here. Texas Tech is 20-8, 71%, but TCU is also 14-9, 61%. Trendy underpick popping there. We have this as Texas Tech -10.5, and Vegas has this right now at Texas Tech -5 even, so we like that. TCU's lost 4 of 5 in a row, including a loss to Texas Tech, but it was at Tech, 82-69. And then Texas Tech right now, they've won all 4 of their last games, and they have, in those 4 last games, they have 2 wins over top 25 teams, Baylor and Texas, and then they're coming off a 24-point win against Oklahoma, where they completely just blew them out and annihilated them. So we like them to get another win here in the Big 12 against TCU. 5, I think the spread is too small. If this was like 7, 8, 9, I'd stay away. We have it at 10.5, but 5 just seems, it's just screaming for me to make a play on it. So Texas Tech -5 is the third play that I have on board. And then this is going to take us down to game number 17 for our fourth one. We have San Francisco against San Diego. I didn't even see this one slide by me on the sheet, and when I was looking through the Vegas numbers, which I typically do over here, and see kind of where the money's moving, I keep an eye on that most of the day whenever I'm on the computer. San Francisco, I follow this conference really well because Gonzaga, San Francisco, and St. Mary's, those are three solid teams that come out of that conference. They're all three obviously going to be in the tournament. San Diego is not a good team, so when this came out and said San Francisco minus 19, I was like, duh. Well, when I went and looked at Vegas, San Francisco had this line at San Francisco minus 11.5, and I think it's out to 13 right now. Let me see if we can pull it up. So we have San Francisco, it opened at 11.5. It's out to 13.5. Majority of money and tickets on San Francisco. That's no surprise. San Francisco's a really good team. They've played Gonzaga twice. They hung in there, ultimately got beat by double digits, but Gonzaga is the number one team in the land right now. Our model has this at minus 19. So when Vegas opened it at 11.5, that created a huge red flag for me to go out here and jump on it. It's out to 13.5 now. So my personal bet, I don't mind doing 13.5 or a first half. I personally put my money on first half minus 7.5 because they're clearly a better team. They easily should be up by 8 points by halftime. San Diego's only a 30% against the spread favorite, or 30% against the spread at home. And these teams did play once before, and San Francisco beat them 88-73, but that's a little misleading because at halftime they were up 46-32. So they were up 14 points at the end of the first half and then just kind of laid off in the second half. San Diego also just lost to St. Mary's by 14 and Portland by 28. Portland is not a good team, and then they barely beat a really bad Pacific team 60-54. San Francisco beat Pacific by 33 points, 104-71, and they beat Portland, and then they played Portland again and lost by 1. But anyways, that Portland team that's not good beat this San Diego team by 28 points. So it should be nothing for San Francisco to pick this game up. And this looks like it's a 5 o'clock game, so that'll give you kind of a mid-afternoon if you want to go after something. And then my favorite game on the slate right now, and Edward, drop your hammer on this game. We have a guy in the chat. His name is Edward. He posts these screenshots of making 5K and 10K bets, which blows my mind because I do not wager that much money. So he always asks, is this a hammer? And then you'll see a 5K screenshot on it. So if it's your money, Edward, go ahead and put 50K on this game. I'm not going to put that much, but I did do 2 units first half and 2 units game on it, whatever that's worth. And this is going to take us down to game number 28. And I know as soon as I posted the sheet, within minutes, people were already posting, I love Murray State, love Murray State, love Murray State. Yes, Murray State is my favorite play on the slate today. We've had really good luck with our top plays so far. You can see number 24 versus number 258 is a no-brainer. Southeast Missouri this isn't even close. So we have 27-2 versus 13-16. Murray State is a solid 10-1 on the road. They're 16-9 against the spread on the year for a 64% cover rate. Now, Southeast Missouri they're 46% against the spread on the year, and they're 7-3 at home. But this game's it's not even in the same ballpark. So you look here at the adjusted offense and defensive rankings. You have Murray State, who's got the 32nd best offense, going up against the 335th adjusted defense. They're going to light up the scoreboard. They're going to do whatever they want in this game. This should not even be close. And then you have the 141st offense, which when you get between 100 and 200, there's not a lot of difference between them. They're just not that good against the 32nd defense. So you got 32-32 versus 141 and 335. We have a model here of 24.5 points. So Murray State minus 24.5. What do you think the Vegas line was on this game? I was shocked. When I saw our model minus 24.5, I saw this game last night and earmarked it, and I'm like, oh, this game's got to be minus 20. I mean, there's no way they're going to put something less than that on it. So we're going to go ahead and look at the game logs here. Before I tell you the line, if you don't know it already, think in your head, what do you think Murray State is favored? Our model has 24.5, and let's look at these two side by side. Now, one thing that I will tell you, Murray State they're killing the division. They're first in the OVC, and we had a play on them last week, -3 going up against Belmont, who is the second team in the OVC. So the second team in the division, they were only favored by 3. And look, They absolutely annihilated them. It wasn't even close. They beat Belmont 76-43, and that's supposed to be the top matchup. They should easily win their conference tournament. If I can find odds on that, I am all over it. And then they even played Belmont back here on the 15th and beat them 82-60. So the number 2 team in their division, they beat by 22 points, and then they turn around and beat them by 23 points. That's just insane. And now they go to Southeast Missouri State, who's not even, say, what are they? So they're 4th in the OVC, so they're better than what I thought. But still, they've lost 3 of the last 5 games. Belmont, who a team that we just said Murray State has annihilated twice, Belmont beat them by pretty much 9 points. And then, they won against Morehead State and UT Martin. But I just can't get past this. Belmont went in, beat Southeast Missouri State, and then Murray State has blown that Belmont team out by 20-plus points twice. And that's the second team in the division. Look at this. They've won 17 games in a row. I mean, this is just crazy. So let's go ahead and get back to it. Oh, one more thing. These teams did already play once. So this is at Southeast Missouri State, but I'm not really worried about them being a home dominant favorite. Sorry, drank too much coffee this morning. These teams played back on December 30th, and it was 106-81. So the first thing that jumps out is they scored a crap ton of points. So I would also look at the over in this game if you're looking for some extra action. I mean, look at this. This is 187 total points, and this is going to be hard for you to see, but 59-40 at halftime. They were up 19 points at halftime, and they, took it easy in the second half and still outscored them 47-41 in the second half. So with our model, minus 24.5 points, and everything I've tried to sell you on with Murray State, what do you think the Vegas line is? All right, hopefully you've made your guess. So this line opened at 11.5. That is like a slap in the face. Like, really? Like, really? You don't think Murray State's going to beat Southeast Missouri State by 12 points? So I bet 2 units on the first half, minus 6.5, and I bet another 2 units on the game line at minus 11.5. That's my favorite play. This is what I did with St. Mary's the other day. St. Mary's and Wagner were my 2 favorite plays, and I doubled up on them. 2 units first half, 2 units second half. And to me, that's a lot. I have a 1 unit play that I put on most games. My parlays, I do a half unit and 4 to 5 teams max. So we're sitting here at this, and so Wagner covered first half, so I was golden. They crapped the bed the second half, so didn't cover the game line, so that game broke even. Then St. Mary's came out on fire, covered the first half, covered the game line, so then I got plus 4 units on that one game. So I'm doing the same thing tonight with Murray State. That's the other play that I like. And typically, I'll post plays, but people will come to me and say, hey, what did you put your money on? Where did you bet your games? So I'll show you what I've bet as of right now at 9:30 this morning. I bet Toledo first half minus 6.5. I bet Dayton first half minus 5.5. I bet San Francisco minus 7.5 first half. Murray State I doubled up on 6.5 and 11.5 for first half and game. Texas Tech I threw a unit on at minus 5. I did 2 units on Gonzaga over 145 just because I'm a little pissed off that last time I live bet the over against San Francisco and they missed my live bet over, but they cruised over the game over. So I'm going to go ahead and bet it now, and then I'll make adjustments during live betting if I need to, and it's a late game, so by then I'll know if I'm up or down, what I want to do, and I went ahead and took Gonzaga minus 6 first half. So those are the plays that I have as of right now that I've bet. One other game that I didn't talk about that I do want to mention that made my list, but I went ahead and cut it, was Davidson. And it should be right in here somewhere, so let's pull that up. So Davidson, I'm leaning on this one. This is a game that I do like, but I have not bet it right now. So there it is, game number 37. So Davidson did make my list. They are amazing at home. They're 23-4 on the season. They're 11-1 at home. Not real great ATS at home, but both teams are over 60%, so I'm fine with that. But the reason I X this game out, which you can see here offensively, I mean, this screams Davidson. Our model has Davidson minus 15, and let me see what the line is. I didn't write down the note on this game because I crossed it off and I wasn't going to talk about it. All right, so we've got Davidson. It opened at 10.5. It's minus 12, and it's got 99% of the cash, 98% of the tickets. So everybody's on Davidson. Now, The one thing I will tell you, I'm going to pull up Pointwise here. Some of my favorite plays that I have lost was this stupid Pointwise sheet, and it irritates me. They had as a best bet on the other side. They put this sheet out for a week at a time. They post it on Tuesday afternoon, and so that's usually when I show everybody what's going on. And when I was flipping through here, they have Fordham as one of their best bets. So I instantly said, forget it. I'm not touching Davidson. I don't need it. If you like it, I'm fine with it. I can get behind it. But I've lost 2 or 3 games where I've posted, and then I noticed they have a best bet on the other side, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to fade them now because that's killed me a couple of times. But let's take a look at some of these Pointwise picks. So you will notice they do have a number 1 pick, Zaga over St. Mary's today. That's kind of odd because they don't even see the line. They posted this a week out, so when it opened at 10, I was like, okay, I can get behind that. Some of these other ones, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, no opinion. Fordham over Davidson. I like Davidson there, but again, this is going to make me fade it. Looking down at some of these games that jump out here at me. So they got Toledo also over Miami of Ohio by 30, 91-61. We like that. Marquette Butler, that's, I think, going to be a good game. I'm excited just to watch that one as a fan. They've got Dayton over LaSalle, 77-60, so that kind of agrees with us. Davidson, Fordham, we have a big spread, Davidson winning. They have Fordham getting within 2, 72-70, so I'm curious to see what happens in that game because they've been kind of sneaky good, actually. Auburn, Tennessee, that's going to be a good matchup. Auburn's a dog on the road, +3 at Tennessee. I don't think you can confidently pick either side. Florida Atlantic and Charlotte. Man, this is a game that we were on Florida Atlantic, and they got absolutely annihilated last game. I love Charlotte. Charlotte's -1 at home against Florida Atlantic, and that was one of my plays that I wrote down on the sheet. But I noticed that when they played previously, Florida Atlantic annihilated them and blew them out of the water, and so I just crossed that game off. It's one I may go back to, but whenever a team in a prior matchup blew them out, it's something I want to kind of stay away from. I haven't seen a line on this VCU-UMass game. I'm really interested in that because VCU should roll over them. Santa Clara, Portland, that's an interesting game. I like following that conference. Duke, Syracuse, that'll be a good game. Texas Tech, TCU. Man, we got a lot of evening games on ESPN, ESPN2 here. Might have to fire up the sports ticker in the basement. They have Texas Tech 79-72, so that they have them covering the 5 as well. St. Bonaventure and St. Joseph's, that's a game I'll look into. I like St. Bonnie. It didn't pop on the sheet. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, that should be a good high-scoring game we could look at. Wake Forest, I originally earmarked down as a game I wanted to look into, but 3 of the last 4, they really struggled, so I kind of crossed them off the list. I didn't see a huge edge. This is interesting. They have San Diego and San Francisco. Thanks, baby.
I don't even know what that was.
All right, thank you. They have San Diego and San Francisco. They have San Diego actually winning the game 80-79, so that's kind of eye-opening for me. I love San Francisco there, so let's see what happens there. Arizona, Colorado, we have a huge edge for Arizona in this matchup. Colorado struggled the last game. We had a -6, and they got ran off the floor. That was one of our 2 losses night before last. So I do like Arizona, and I think the cheat sheet agrees. So we've got, let me scroll back up here, give you a little extra look. So Arizona, we have -17.5 points. And then, what is the spread on it? I guess that'll help you, won't it? And then the spread for Arizona is 9.5 right now, and they got about 60% of the money. And so Pointwise has them winning by 10. So I bet Arizona to win the NCAA championship and got really good odds. So I don't mind Arizona there. That might be another play that I go back and look into. And then sliding down here, Providence, Creighton, that's going to be a good game. UAB, UTEP, I looked at that one, almost had a play on UAB. Zaga, St. Mary's, I love the over 145 for the late night go-get-it play. They've got this at, 158 points, Zaga winning 92-66. I think it'll be closer than that. I think it'll be a 15-point game, something closer to what San Francisco did, but Zaga, I think they easily win by the 10. I don't think that's an issue. And then that's all we got. So, hey, you guys go make some money. I will be in the chat. My son has a basketball game today at 2:30, so from 2:30 to 3:30, I will be gone, but I will be back for the late night slate and the NBA cheat sheet update. Good luck, guys.